in 4 parts: your housing assembly, your curtain, your guide rails, and then a stop angle in case you don't have a windowsill or the shutter's not coming to rest on the floor. Step number 1 is going to be to take your base stop angle, if you're using one, if you have no windowsill or you're not going down to the ground, and cut it out of the plastic. Our next step is we're going to make 3 holes in this angle. You want to put a hole about every 12 to 16 inches. So I'm going to drill a hole about 1 inch away from the edge, 1 in the center, and then 1 at the other end so that we can go ahead and attach it to the wall. Okay, we cut this angle for you the same width as your finished dimension on the shutter. So our next step is going to be to find the center line on the bottom of the window. The window is 37 inches wide, so our center point is going to be 18 and a half, and we're going to do the same thing with the angle. The angle is 42 and a quarter inches long, so center point for us would be 21 and an eighth, and we're going to make a mark on the angle and at the center point of the window, and we're going to line those 2 marks up. Okay, we've aligned our 2 center points, the center point on our angle with the center point on our window, and we're going to go ahead now and set the angle right up to the bottom of the window, check for level. Everything looks good. We're going to go ahead and drill out the 3 holes that we made in the angle and run in our 3 screws. Okay, we're going to align now our center line on our angle with the center line on the wall. We're going to check everything for level. We're going to go ahead and drill the first hole out now in the wall. Okay, we're going to recheck for level. And with our first hole drilled out, we're now going to run in our first screw. Okay, we can recheck level, and then we're going to go ahead and drill out our 2 remaining holes. We're going to run in our remaining 2 screws. We're ready now for our next step, which is going to be to cut the guide rails and the housing unit out of the bubble wrap. We're going to go ahead and pull the tape that's holding the hood cover and hood together off now and remove the hood cover. We're going to go ahead and set this off to the side. We're ready now to put the guide rails and the housing up against the wall. Before I do that, I'm going to drill a hole to secure the housing. Right here at the bottom of the housing, we're going to put 1 hole as close to center as we can. So since I'm doing this by myself, when I stand it up on the wall and it seats on the base stop angle, it'll stay in place while I level and plumb everything else. Your order came with 2 guide rails. Obviously, we've already cut these out of the bubble wrap. Where we pre-drilled these holes for you, this is the side where the first hole starts about 6 inches away from the edge. That is going to slip up onto the end cap legs. So this piece is going to slide on to the end cap here, and this guide rail is going to slide onto the end cap here. I'm going to slide them both onto the end caps, supporting the end cap so you don't break that leg off, and then we're going to stand it up and put it on the wall. I'm going to give the shutter support as you pick it up. Take it up the ladder. And it up over the window. Now, the inside edge of our guide rails will be the outside dimension of whatever you provided. Okay, we're going to run in one of our flange head Tapcon screws to hold everything in place. Shutter is up now and stable. We're going to check the 2 side angles to make sure they're square. They look square around our window, but we're going to double check and make sure they are square. You're provided with some smaller headed screws, which is what we'll be using to run in through the larger hole in the front. The screw will bite into the back of the channel and secure it to the structure, and then these holes along the side will be covered with a plug button, making them accessible in the future if you ever needed to remove the shutter off the wall. That side looks good. Both sides are good. We're going to go ahead now and drill everything out. I'm going to put a couple of more screws in the hood now. There's no real right way or wrong way to attach the hood. You could attach the hood to your soffit through the top. I'm going below the tube. You could go above the tube. Wherever you have something structural to tack into, that's where you want to go ahead and run them in. We're going to cut our rolling shutter curtain out of its bubble wrap now, and we're going to go ahead and take it up the ladder, and we've got to unwind it to get to the slat hangers, and then we're going to walk it up, walk it over the axle, and walk it down the guide rails. Okay, now in order to get the shutter fed over the axle and down the guide rails, we're going to actually unwind the shutter, and we're going to rewind it the other way so that I can handle it by myself. I'm going to just kind of fold it over like this so I don't scratch the curtain. As I unwind it, there's my base slat. I'm just kind of folding it up like that so that I can handle it, take it up the ladder. Again, this is a point where having a helper would come in handy. Curtain seated now in place. If you've hung the shutter correctly, the shutter should seat down nice and square. Everything's seated. We're going to go ahead now and wrap the slat hangers around the front of the axle, and we're going to screw them down using the self-drilling, half-inch self-drilling screws we provide. You want to make sure now as you wrap these slat hangers around the front of the axle that both of them are lined up. Your shutter is seated square at the bottom. You want to make sure that you screw it in square at the top so that when the axle turns and pulls the shutter up, the shutter pulls up out of the tracks squarely. That's a self-drilling screw. You don't need to pre-drill the hole. It's a screw and a drill bit all in one. You start running it in with your electric drill, and it'll start. Okay, we're going to run another screw in. Your slat hanger has 3 holes. You only need to attach the slat hanger to the axle with 2 of these screws. That'll be plenty to hold a standard size shutter. If you have a huge shutter, you may want to use the 3rd hole. A little trick I've learned over the years to keep the screw heads from marring the shutter is take a little piece of blue painter's tape once you've screwed it together. Just put it over the axle right there, and right there, and that'll keep the screw heads from marring the powder coating on the curtain. Probably one of the biggest questions we get are what are these plastic white cone-shaped thingies that I don't know what to do with. These are called conical stops. This is going to keep the curtain from pulling up off the track when you're winding the shutter up and down. So what you're going to do now in your base slat, in your bottom slat along here, you're going to drill 2 holes at about 1/3 and 2/3 the way across the shutter. And you're going to put these stops pointing out. The screw that screws into the back of them, they've got a stop, a washer, and a screw. The screw will come in through the back, the washer goes in over the screw head, the conical stop will screw down on top of it. Okay, one more thing that I'd like to mention when drilling your holes is if your window is right behind your shutter, you want to raise the window, maybe remove the screen and raise the window before you drill out your hole so you don't puncture the glass or your screen behind it. I drilled the 2 holes, but I haven't put the conical stops in yet. Our last steps in finishing off the shutter, we're going to put the hood cover on. We're going to put our universal with a little pivot here in place. We're going to wind the shutter up a few turns, and then it's going to make it easier for us to put that screw through the base slat and screw that conical stop down. The first step is going to be to put the hood cover back in place. It slides up into a little channel up here in the top and seats up against the bottom, and then it's going to screw down in place with another one of these self-drilling screws. We can put one here and then put one underneath. One thing I'll mention on this is you've got a protective plastic coating on the shutter, on the hood, which will come off, and you can begin to take it off here as you approach the final stages. Your shutter housing came with protective plastic on both the front cover and the hood. I've peeled it off the front cover. It's kind of hard to get off. Expect it a little bit. I'm going to show you how to peel it off the top. Okay, we're going to put our operator in now and we're going to finish up. Let's wind the shutter up a little bit. We'll put in our conical stops and we'll be able to pull my crank handle out of the plastic. Crank handle hooks up to the universal like so. And it'll bend for you. And go ahead and wind the shutter up a couple inches. That'll hang there like that. We'll go ahead and put our conical stop. Okay, we take our conical stop, our washer, slide that over the screw like that. We're going to put it in from the back. Let it poke through. Let's go ahead and screw the conical stop down on it like that. Holding it finger tight. We can put a plug button in there to cover it up. Same plug buttons we're going to put in the track. We'll finish up with our plug buttons and we'll be all done. Okay, we're just going to check the operation of the shutter now, up and down, and we'll be all done.